it's Erin the Hiking Stitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 21. This will be my September update of all the wonderful stitchy things that I've gotten up to. And actually, this is my second go around at this. I filmed the entire Flosstube yesterday only to delete it when I tried to upload it to my computer. So yeah, so this will be take two. So anyhow, so today is Tuesday, September 30th. And if you've stumbled upon me, this is a channel about my cross stitch and occasionally my hiking and whatever else I just feel like talking about. So if you are new here, welcome to my channel. Please drop a comment below and let me know how you found me so I know who to thank. And if you are returning, thank you. Welcome back. I hope you like what you see. So if you do, comment, like, subscribe, and all the YouTube things that make the algorithm happy, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, I've got a lot to talk about today. So I have some Flosstube and some Instagram shout outs I want to give because, you know, that's how we build community, is telling people where other cool stitchers are. And then I had 2 finishes in September, and I had 4 new starts, and I had quite a few whips. So we'll talk about that. And then at the end of the video, I want to talk about my Stitch Hauntober, 13 days of Hauntober, whatever you want to call it, plans. So I will let you know what I plan on getting up to in the month of October. So let's get started, shall we? So let's start out with some shout outs. So in September, I watched a lot of Flosstube and I watch a lot of my friends. But occasionally I will stumble upon a Flosstube that a friend of mine may have made that I didn't know they had, or I will just stumble upon something I haven't seen in a while. So with that being said, let me tell you who I've been watching. So one of the ones I've watched is Small Town Stitches. And the reason I love this Flosstube channel is that this stitcher is a full coverage stitcher like me. I thought I was a full coverage crazy. Nah, Small Town Stitches has me beat, and she has so many wonderful pieces. So go check her out. I've also been watching Erin and Amity of the Hathaway Stitchers. I met them at StitchCon 2024, and I have really, really enjoyed them, but they don't put out as many Flosstubes as I know all of us would like, but I know they've got lives and are busy. So go give them a like and a subscribe and a watch. Also, Amity is a designer, and she is Boomerang Stitches. And so she has a few amazing pieces out there. Well, more than a few now. So go check her out as well. I love her stuff, and I can't wait to stitch more of it. And finally, I have also been watching my friend Lisa from Shady Tree Stitchers. And she usually does this Flosstube with a friend of hers whose name I am completely forgetting right now. But Lisa is also Paddock Lane Designs, and she is based out of Australia. So she is an Australian-based cross-stitch store, designer, things like that. So go give them a watch and a like and tell them I sent you. Also, I also wanted to shout out some friends of mine on Instagram who may not necessarily be on Flosstube, but they may watch this. So Instagram is also an integral part of building the stitchy community. So I wanted to tell you about 4 amazing stitchers. There's so many more out there, but I picked 4. The first one I wanted to tell you about is Mainly X Stitch. This is Rachel, and she's out of Maine, and she is a designer and a stitcher. And I love Rachel's stuff because she has the same kind of snarky political sense of humor that I do. We are on the same side politically, and I love how she can kind of put into stitchy design what I'm thinking. So if you are also kind of a snarky liberal progressive like me, go ahead and check out Mainly X Stitch. She actually has a stitch along that she is pre-selling and will be starting soon that I think is absolutely adorable. I'm not gonna get it because I have enough, but it's like cats on shelves. I mean, who doesn't love cats? So that's Rachel. And then I wanna tell you about my friend Emily, the Popupstitcher. Emily is part of my stitching group here in Virginia that we meet once a month. And Emily is an amazing project bag maker. So go find her shop on Etsy and go fill your cart with all sorts of stitchy goodness. She makes beautiful, beautiful bags that I know I've probably featured on here before. And she's also probably one of the most personal, down-to-earth people you'll ever meet. Very, very sunny, optimistic, and just loves what she does. So go give Emily a shout out. And then I also want to shout out my friend Jen Gorski, who is the Thefrogstitcher on Instagram. Jen, I have known for quite a long time through Frogwarts and the Black Needle Society, and I think if there's a stitcher that stitches faster than I do, it's definitely Jen. She has model stitched for so many designers, and it seems like every time I'm looking at her Instagram, it's like finish 10, finish 12. So Jen, I love what you stitch. You're great. So go give Jen a shout out. And the last one I want to shout out is Momful Stitches. So actually, I have a piece of haul from her that I will talk about in a minute, but she is also a cross-stitch designer who has some really cute patterns. So go give them all a check out on Instagram, like, follow, all those cool things. So I will make sure all of those links and names are in the description below when I edit this. So those are my awesome Stitchy community shout outs. All right, so let's talk about what I did in September. September was busy, shall we say. I am not quite finished with my September stitching, but I'm right now on track to have about 19,000 stitches this month, which is way more than I expected. So go me. But let's talk about two of my finishes. So the first finish I want to show you is my football piece. So this is my Saints Gnome. Here it is. So this was a pattern, I believe it's from a designer on Etsy called Nenidesigncrafts, and she designs gnomes in so many different motifs. So for a long time, she has done sports motifs, but somebody said they were trying to go find a sports gnome and they couldn't find one. So I don't necessarily know if she is still doing these or licensing has forced her to stop. But I do know that she has so many other gnomes on her site that even if it's not a sports team related gnome, that you'll still find a bunch of them. So this was the gnome. I decided to stitch this last year, and I stitched it every time I watched the Saints play. So I thought I was going to finish it last year, didn't quite get there. So I finished this at the first regular game of the season. So this is now done, and I'm hoping to get it eventually framed as a stand-up maybe. Didn't take too long, about 6,000 stitches. So if I could put in, 300-400 stitches on a Sunday afternoon, that was great. But I'm so glad this little guy is done, and I can't wait to get him all framed and put up. So this was my Saints Gnome. And my other big finish was my Lola SAL. So this was the Extraordinary Bird Stitch Along, and this is the first Lola Crow Stitch Along that I started and finished on time. So I started this at Steel City Stitchers back in April, and I managed to keep up with it. And I finished it about a week after the last release came out. So I finished this the first week in September. So here it is. Let me make sure you can see it. And so there she is, all done. So this was stitched on 32 count vintage Stormy Night, I think, a nice even weave. And I used all the called for DMC colors, with the exception of substituting in some silk lame braid for some parts of the gilded bird cage. And I absolutely loved every stitch of this. I loved learning about all the cool birds. I loved just seeing it come together. And while this was my first Lola Crow stitch along, this will not be my last. So this is going to get framed and put together soon. And I'm hoping that maybe this will be one of my Woodlawn needlepoint show or needlecraft shows entries this year. I haven't decided yet. But this is going to get framed up soon. But I'm so excited it's finished. I love it. So come next April, I will probably be doing another Lola Crow SAL. So those were my two finishes for September. And then let me see what else. Before I get into my new starts, I also had a little bit of haul I wanted to show you. So I've been trying to spend down, but you guys know how things just somehow leap into your cart or leap into your hands or leap into your stash, and you don't even know how that happened. Don't know how that worked out. So let's talk about some of the stuff that I picked up. So the first one I wanted to show is this pattern called Friend Love by Amy Brucken. This I picked up at In Stitches Needlework in Alexandria, Virginia, and this was on their sale rack. And I saw this and I immediately was like, oh, I love snowmen, and I know I could probably stitch this for a friend. It just called to me. It just said, please take me home with you. So I'm gonna possibly add this to my potential December rotation for Christmas and see what I do from there. So it's not very big. It's about it's 119 by 156, and I just think I thought it was so cute. So that is one of my patterns that I picked up. So then I also picked up 2 patterns online. So I will insert pictures here of what they look like and try to get the info down below. So if you want to do them, you can as well. So as I mentioned in my shout outs, there is a stitcher called Momful Stitches. And she actually saw my Saints Gnome and was like, oh my gosh, did you know that I'm doing a football stitch along? And I said, no, tell me more. So what she has done is she has designed a stitch along for the season where you keep track of your personal favorite football team's wins and losses, and you stitch according to how they're doing. And she actually, on her own, she went through and she made a chart for every single NFL team. So 32 some odd teams, each having a different color palette. So she went through and she charted the stitch along for every single team. So she sent me the information and I certainly grabbed it. I have not started it yet, simply because my team, the Saints, they're not doing that great right now. And I don't necessarily know if I want to stitch along that's full of their losses. But I may pull it out soon and at least get the outline done, because the outline is the same no matter what the team is and no matter how the team does. So. But if you're interested in that, I will definitely drop the information in the description below so you can head over to her Etsy page or her Instagram page and see what she's got. And then the other pattern that I grabbed was Every Season from Tiny Modernist. And this is one I saw on another Flosstube. So I think this was Adelaide Stitches was doing this at some point. And it just somehow magically jumped into my cart online and into my Google Drive before I knew what happened. So I just really love the concept of a 4 seasons piece. I have several of them in my stash, and I just really, really like the colors and the themes in this one. So this is one that I'm hoping to get started on and fill into my plans soon, but who knows. So those were my patterns. And then because, you just can't have too many project bags, I am on Stitch and Buttons group on Facebook. And when she posted some of the new fabrics that she was going to be making for project bags, I was like, just take my money. Take my money. So I grabbed 2 of them. So the first one is, they're both vinyl front. And this is a London themed one. So for those of you who don't know, London is probably one of my favorite cities ever. I went there for the first time in September of last year. I will be going there again in December and then again in July next year. So I already know when I'm going to get back. And I have several London and England related cross stitch pieces that will fit into this, that I can just grab this and toss in my suitcase for whenever I'm heading over across the pond. So thank you for this amazing, amazing project bag. And then the other piece actually holds one of my new starts. So I'll kind of segue from this into my new starts. So the other piece I found, the other project bag that she had was this beautiful Love is Love. Now, those of you who know me, you definitely know that I am an ally, and I have started to pick up a lot more kind of those progressive ally related cross stitch patterns. And so having this bag not only gives me a place to put them, but also just shows off, the fact that I think the government shouldn't tell you who you can and can't love. You do you. You are who you are. So that came in, and it was a perfect one for my new start, for one of my new starts for September. So it holds that. So let's talk about new starts. I had 4. And so I'll start with this one. The first one that I'm going to show you actually was not a planned start. The other three were a planned start for September. This was, I like to call it a rage start, because after Charlie Kirk was horrifically murdered, just a lot of stuff happened. And while I certainly don't agree with pretty much anything Charlie Kirk said or anything his organization stands for, his murder brought out the worst in a lot of people. And so, I mean, I had friends who posted things on Facebook and then were threatened with job loss and were put on leave. I had people that I thought at least respected our friendship enough to respect our differences, but then pretty much told me I'm going to hell because I wasn't properly mourning Charlie Kirk. And I just like that's, you know, that's, it's freedom of speech. I didn't agree with anything that he said. I don't think he should, you know, nobody should die that way. But I also am thinking, if you are this enraged about this, where's the outrage for all the other, you know, gun violence deaths? So anyhow, so that's my political soapbox. I'm going to get off. But I had this project kitted up for a while, and where I just, you know, I needed to get off social media to stop rage posting. And so I rage started. So this is the Vote As If Stitch Along from the Notorious Needle. And this was a stitch along that was released last year, so it is finished. And I didn't even see it until it was finished. So there it is. So I'm stitching this. So here, let me show you my start first. So this is, and so this is going to be on a 40 count, was it 40 count Winter Moon from Color and Cotton. And so I'm absolutely loving how this looks on here. Let me flip around for you. And so I love the feel of this fabric. I love the look of the fabric. And I think the colors are going to look great on it. Because I originally was thinking of doing all white, but there is a all white stripe somewhere in there. So I knew I needed to do something a little bit different. And so it actually fits very well in this bag. And the colorway looks really, really great. So that was my first new start. And so the other new starts I have were more planned. So I don't really have a whole lot of fall stitching or things like that. So I said, well, September is the switch from summer to fall. Let me fix that. So on September 1st, which was the first day of meteorological fall, for those of you who are as nerdy as me, I said, okay, well, I'm going to start a fall piece. So I started this piece. So this is Leap Into Fall from Ursula Michael. And it's not a very big or difficult piece. So this should hopefully stitch up fairly quickly. It is mostly backstitch with 3 colors. And here is my start. Make sure I'm getting, all right. So kind of there. So there is what I've got so far. So putting in the words is quite easy. This is on a 16 count Aida. My only, I guess if I could go back and yell at myself, I might have gone with a Lugana because there are several quarter stitches and places where you have to split the Aida, but this is already, you know, almost to the top, and this is already almost to the side. So it's not going to be terribly big. So it's not even worth it for me to restart it. But there's my start on Leap Into Fall. And then on the autumnal equinox, September 22nd, that's when, you know, everybody considers fall to have officially started. I decided to start Autumn Lane's Falling Leaves and Coffee Please. Now, this is one I had seen for quite a while, and I believe I picked this pattern up off a, I believe I picked it up at Steel City. Not positive, but I know I picked it up at a retreat. So I originally had pulled the DMC conversion, and then I realized I didn't particularly care for all the DMC colors, so I kind of played around with it, and I came up with my own color conversion. And if you are truly, it's going to be very similar to what this is, but I just wasn't going to I didn't have time to get the Bee Stitch Me Silks. So I did a color conversion with pretty much all Classic Colorworks and Gentle Arts threads. So if you are interested in my conversion, just drop a comment below and I will tell you what it is. But I am stitching this on a piece of 18 count vintage country mocha. And here is where I've gotten to so far. Flip it over here a little bit. Okay. So I have gotten one of the coffee cups in, and this is the steam that kind of goes all the way down to the bottom coffee cup. So this was literally 1 day of stitching so far. So this is another one that's going to stitch up, I think, faster than I think. And so I can't wait to put more stitches on this in October, because both of those patterns that I just showed you will be part of my October plans. So I will discuss that at the end of the video. And finally, I had a new football start, because I'd gotten in the habit of having something that I stitched on when I watched the Saints last year with the Saints Gnome. And so I'm like, what am I going to stitch on when I finish that one? So I went through my stash and I picked up Football Fleur. Now this is a pattern that is exclusive to Accents in Stitches in Metairie, Louisiana, which is where my mother-in-law lived. And so I would always, every time I went out there, I'd buy out the store. And so this one's actually a very small, it's 83 by 98 for this big one right here, but it also comes with a pattern with these smaller ones. So I'm doing the big one. And so I am stitching this one with the DMC 310 and DMC, the regular Blanc. But then I decided to stitch it with an over-dyed brown. So the called for is a Weeks Dye Work floss, but I don't stitch Weeks Dye Works anymore if I can help it. So I pulled a floss from Color and Cotton out of my stash that was one of in one of the frog warts, so it's a special edition one. And so over 2 days of stitching, I've gotten this far on it. So you definitely can see the outline of the black, and you can see where I filled in, oh, hang on here, some of the brown just to see how it looked. And I did have some white in there, although I know the lighting is not the greatest. But this is going to be another small, quick, and easy piece that will get stitches on it pretty much every Sunday during football season, with the hope of having this finished by the end of the season, which for the Saints is not going to involve the playoffs unless a miracle happens starting this weekend. You know, when your team starts 0-4, you don't have a lot of high hopes for the season. So those were my new starts. Those were my finishes. And that's my stash. So let's jump into the whips. And so I'm going to keep on the football theme here because it's fall. I love football. So one of the stitchy games that I'm trying to keep up with is Gridiron Grind. And that was the brainchild of Kim Hollenbeck, who is that runs the Full Coverage Fanatics group on Facebook. And the idea there is to let your football team decide how many stitches you put in. So it's very, very open-ended. So you pick your team and you pick your kind of your stitch count. So what I decided to do was pick my two favorite teams. Number one, the New Orleans Saints, and then the Buffalo Bills. So I have a piece for each of them. And for each team, so for every game I look at, what I'm doing is I'm stitching 10 stitches for every point they score. And then I will add another 100 stitches to the piece if the team wins. And then if the quarterback gets a rushing touchdown, then I will add 50 stitches for every rushing touchdown they get. And if the defense or special teams scores a touchdown, then I'll add 50 stitches for every touchdown that they get. So something that is somewhat manageable for me because I am working two teams and two pieces. And so let me talk about how we're doing. So the piece that I assigned to the New Orleans Saints is NOLA from Heaven and Earth Designs. The artwork is from Mandy Manzano, and honestly, this is probably my favorite Heaven and Earth design that I'm working on right now. And that's saying something because I love them all. But, so let me show you where I'm at right now. So, in the month of September, I have been working on this magnolia. So I came over here and now we're just kind of filling in the magnolia because this is going to be a huge magnolia here. And so I'm just kind of working down to, here is where the end of the first row of pages is. So I'm kind of working down there. Problem is with the Saints, they have not been doing well this year. They have not won a game yet. And they have not scored more than 20 points in a game. So Pretty much I'm getting somewhere between 150 and 200 stitches in a week on this. So I can usually knock that out Sunday night. But I'm hoping that they will pick up the pace a little bit because I love working on this. So this will come back. You'll see this again in my next Flosstube because I'm going to keep going on it. So if you want to see more progress on this, cheer for the saints, please. So that was NOLA. And then the project that I assigned to the Buffalo Bills is Old World Map from Art of the Antiquities. And this is actually my, outside of my stitch along, this is my smallest full coverage right now. So I wanted to kind of get some caught up on that because I can see this one being one of the first big ones I finish. So now the Buffalo Bills have been doing so much better. They have won every game and Josh Allen has scored a few touchdowns as the quarterback. So in contrast to maybe 150 and 200 stitches a week that I've been putting in with NOLA, this project has been getting anywhere from 400 to 600 stitches a week. So this is where I'm at now. So I have been working on this globe, on this part of the map. Originally, I was working across, and you can kind of see that there. And then I decided for me, it kind of made more sense to kind of work a little bit in diagonals. So that's what I started doing. So I got like all of this done in September. Brought it down here. So this is the end of the second row of pages. So I'm kind of going down as far as I can there, work my way over, and then move the Q-snap over, and eventually I'll get over here. So, so this is where I'm at. This is, this and NOLA are both stitched using the called for DMC colors on 25 count easy grid Lugana. And I stitched 2/1 full cross. And I park. So if you don't like park threads, I'm sorry. But again, you find the method that works for you. But I'm liking this because now you're starting to see the rest of the globe come out. And it's not, there's some sections up here like that are very confetti heavy, but then you get down here and I can easily knock out 200 stitches in an hour because it's large blocks of color minus the latitude longitude line. So this will get a little bit more work done on it tonight to finish up my stitches for this week. And so be on the lookout for more progress on this in my next Flosstube video as well. So those were the projects I'm doing for Gridiron Grind. And so let's see, kind of going through, I've got the rest of my pile here. So let me show you then my last full coverage piece. So this is my daily stitch, meaning that if there's only one project I have time to stitch on a day, it's this one, because my goal is to have it done before I go to Europe in December. So this is the Heaven and Earth Design Stitch Along, and this is Steampunk Portal. So this is where I'm at. So at the end of September, I had finished this row, or at the end of August, I'd finished this row. So this was September. So I was able to finally get all the way down to the bottom because the final release dropped in my inbox a couple days ago. It wasn't supposed to drop into the inbox until, October 1st, but every single one's been early. So now I have the entire project in my inbox, so no more waiting on pieces. So now I'm just going through, and the way I've been stitching this is kind of I go down a row and then go wherever I can, and then I keep going down a row just to keep things manageable so I'm not kind of backtracking on myself. So up here, it's more confetti heavy, and then down here you get, with the darker colors, some more blocks of color. So I have been keeping up on this. So I have been stitching pretty much every day of the year on this. And if I can average around 300 stitches a day, I will have this finished by the time I leave for Europe in the middle of December. Because if I can finish this by the end of the year, not only do I get the pattern for every single chart that was in the stitch along this year, but I also get to pick one free pattern off the Heaven and Earth Designs website. And I already have my eye on a couple. So this has been a joy to stitch. I really do love stitching on this. The only downside has been this has taken me away from a lot of my other stitching goals. There are times where this is pretty much all I have a chance to stitch on during the day, And so a lot of my other whips and a lot of the other goals that I'd set for myself have kind of had to have been set aside. So I probably will not do this again for a while. Probably certainly not next year, because I want to give the projects that I have neglected this year some more love. But that doesn't mean that I can't do something later on. This was a good challenge I set for myself, and so far, so good. I just didn't realize how much of a time commitment it would be in order to meet the goal of getting it done by the end of the year. So that being said, I love it. I love the colors in it. I love how it's stitching up. And I'm actually going to be almost sad when she's done, because it's been so much a part of my life this year. So hopefully, so my goal is, I'm at about 75% on this now. So right now I am on track. And so my goal for the end of October is to be, fill out the next page. So be over here. So I'll get like this page done all the way down. And then November and December. So there's 2 full and 1 kind of half a page left, plus the last row, which I'm just considering part of the page. So I should be good to go. All right. So this is Steampunk Portal from Heaven and Earth Designs. All right, and so the rest of the pieces that I've worked on, in no particular order. I have tried to keep up with WhipGo, and that hasn't gone as well as I'd hoped. I'm doing the Great British Bake Off Stitching Challenge from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and that has helped me touch a lot of projects. But again, I am so far behind on the number of stitches I should be putting in. So I'm just happy that I was able to touch a lot of these, because some of these pieces I haven't touched in a long time. So let's start with this piece. So this piece lives in this beautiful project bag that came in the Nice List box from the Black Needle Society last year. And in here lives Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. So this has been a monthly stitch. So my goal on this one is to work on this on the 12th or 13th of every month, and then again on like the 24th, 25th of every month. So I think I've made an executive decision that I'm only going to do the first 9 panels of it, because that will complete the Christmas carol that goes with it. But the way I've decided to do this is based on an idea from Nancy the Disorderly Stitcher. So where she took her Hawk Run Hollow and she divided each square into 4 blocks. And so her goal is to get essentially 25% of the square done every month. So that worked easy for this one, but now I'm working on this block. And as you can see, it is quite a bit of, not quite full coverage, but very close. So this one I have fallen behind on, but I have still managed to work on it. So let me show you where I'm at. So let me show you first the whole thing, and then I will zoom in. There we go. Trying to get in here as best I can. All right, so this is where I'm at total. So I've got the first block done, and I have now hit 50% on block 2, which is a little bit behind. I started this in December of 2024. So theoretically, I should be done with the first row by December, and I will be happy if I'm done with block 2 by the end of the year. So in September, I was able to fill in the house, get the house halfway done, and get the snow filled in all the way over. So I have now got pretty much the whole pattern halfway across. So it is 50% according to my pattern keeper. And so next month, I'm just hoping to keep going, because that's all you can do. So again, I really love working on this. This is on a piece of 32 count Lugana or even weave. I have no idea what fabric it is. I think this was just off a 1, 2, 3 stitch, and it's gonna be huge. I mean, it fits, this is the size I needed for it. So there's block 1 and block 2 of Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. And my goal for this is to have the whole, if I work on it the way I should be done with the whole piece in 4 years. So that's, again, that is the current goal and part of the current plan. So you'll see that again at the end of October, and hopefully I will have that house done. So zip that back up and stick it over here. And then one of my Whipco calls was to work on Endurance from Heaven and Earth Design. So I did. Did not get anywhere near the amount of stitches I had wanted to, but again, at this point, any stitch is better than no stitches at all. So here is where I'm at. So in the month of September, I've really got his head outlined. It was starting to look really weird because I had maybe up to here done. So I just kind of took my time and went around. So now you can see the outline of his head. And so that's where I'm going to continue filling in the next time I pick this up. And just so you can see the whole thing, because why not? This is where I'm at. And so this is on 18 count Ada, and stitched 2/1 full cross using the called for DMC colors. And so this is not going to be a full coverage piece, as you can see, but it is still very, very detailed and intricate. So I'd like to finish the tortoise just because I would like to. And then down here, I have the snail started, and there's still a lot more to get done. So this is one that has the fewest stitches left of any of my Heaven and Earth designs outside of the stitch along. So this may be the next one I focus on finishing, just because I'm already 40% of the way there. So the next time I pick this up, my goal is to continue working on the head, because that's a lot of green in there. And then you can see where I'm coming over towards the sign. And yeah, so that is Endurance. And that will eventually go into the home gym where the treadmill is. And maybe it'll inspire me to continue going on the exercise that I just don't do anymore. All right, let's see what else. Oh God, I've got a whole pile over here. But I'm gonna reach over here, and the next one I've picked up is Ruskin's Penguins from Modern Folk Embroidery. This was a May 2024 start, and then it was, I believe, a December 2024 restart, because I didn't particularly care for the fabric that I had initially chosen. So here's where I'm at on it. In the month of September, I've put probably just under 200 or so stitches in. So not a lot, but I started up the border, and then I picked up the white. So this is all DMC 310. And now this is Classic Colorworks Snowball. I think it's Classic. Yeah, this is Snowball for the white. And I realized I don't like doing borders. I prefer them over alphabets, because I'll still do the borders, even if, but alphabets, I will refuse to do an alphabet. But I realized I was just getting sick of the black. So I said, well, let me grab the white and start bringing it in this way, because the penguins themselves are here. So this is as wide as the piece is going to be. So I've got plenty of space. And so I want to be able to start bringing this up just to see how far up it goes. But this is on a piece of, I believe it's 16 count, just basic beige Ada, a roll I had in my stash from Joann's a long time ago. But yeah, so I was glad to get some progress on this, because I love the pattern. But I just don't know why sometimes when I sit down and get stitching on it, it doesn't always grab me. Who knows? But this will come out again next year, of course. And then, let's see. So then I also, thanks to the Great British Bake Off, I got some work in on Local Conditions, which is a temperature chart from Satsuma Street. This was in the Nature and Elements box from the Black Needle Society last November. And I had never done a temperature chart, so I thought this was a brilliant idea. And so I started it, but of course, just like everything, it has fallen by the wayside. So I'm continuing to record the temperatures, so that way I can continue stitching on it when I can. But in the month of month of September, I got up to the month of April. So the top row is January through February, and then the bottom row is March. And then I started, April is kind of like right here. So I literally just started the month of April. So I am quite behind on this. It's only, if I did it per day, it's only like 20, 25 stitches per day. But it's like, I just don't feel I can get a jive going when I do it that way. So I kind of have to sit and do a few days at a time. But again, I'm absolutely loving this piece when I do stitch it. So I'm stitching this on a piece of, I don't know, I think it's 18 count, but it says Fiber on a Whim, presenting Lorelei Gilmore. So this was in one of the Gilmore Girls boxes from the Black Needle Society. And it is a lovely, lovely stitch. So I'm still recording that. Can't guarantee I'm gonna have it done by the end of 2025, but one will try. And it lives in this Gilmore Girls project bag. All right. And so the next piece that I worked on is actually quite special to me because it's not my piece. So it lives in this Gilmore Girls project bag from the Black Needle Society. And so this has got a great story behind it. So let me first show you the pattern. Oh, come on here. There we go. So this is from Modern Folk Embroidery. This is When This You See, Remember Me. So this is a piece that actually my friend Cece from the Black Needle Society brought with them to Camp Black Needle last year. And they had the brilliant idea of having all of their friends stitch on it. So we started it at Camp Black Needle last year, and then at the end of camp in 2024, it went home with Keisha, who is one half of the Pattern Queens on Flosstube. And Keisha got some work on it throughout the year and then brought it back to camp last year, or this past year. The original goal was to have the whole thing done before 2025, but we all know how life gets in the way on that. So I took it home with me and said, I'm going to work through it. Kind of the idea is if I can, kind of, again, almost divide this into 4 and get a big chunk of it done, then I can pass this off to some other friends who've wanted to stitch on this with the idea then, hopefully, of being able to present the finished piece to CC at Camp Black Needle 2026. So, and CC knows that I've been working on it, so I have no problem with them seeing it. Here it is. So first of all, before I show you the whole thing, I just want to show you this fabric. So let me zoom out. The fabric that they picked for this, I absolutely love. I have no idea who the fabric dyer is. I believe it's 28 count. But isn't that gorgeous, y'all? Like, seriously, this is amazing. So they picked out this piece and said, this will go great on it. And so let me fold it over so we can show you where I'm at. Or I should say, we're at. So this is where it's at so far. I worked on in September, I got in some of the words. I started to bring down this motif right here. And then I took this to my old house stitching group on Sunday and told them about the pass around project. So they got the border done. So now we can see where the border is going to be, making sure we had enough fabric, enough room. And we've got more than enough room. So I'm going to continue to work on this a little bit and try to get maybe down to here done. And then I will pass this along. So if you know Cece and you are part of the Black Needle Society and you would like to be a part of this stitch along, please message them or me and we'll figure out who I get to mail this to next. So the idea is that Cece's friends all stitch on it, and then, let me see, do I have the page here? Everybody who has stitched on it signs it. So everybody who's worked on it has signed it. So that way, whenever Cece looks at the finished piece, they go, oh, look at my friends. And Cece's been going through a rough patch lately. So I really hope that this brings you some joy and some smiles, and hope you know how much we all love you. So I code this in my system as Cece's piece because this is not mine. All right, next thing I worked on was another long neglected piece, sorry. This was one that I started at the beginning of the year with high hopes of keeping up with everything because, it's what it is. But they call them start-alongs for a reason, right? So this is the Peppermint Purple 2025 free stitch along. And every year Peppermint Purple does this for free. If you want to purchase an extra pretty border or something like that, you can. But every year they release a layout, and then every week they release something to fill it in. So this is the first year I said, I can do that. So took me a while to, actually my husband helped me pick out the color scheme. And then I got about February, I kind of fell off the wagon. So I am very far behind. I do not anticipate finishing this year, although when I do stitch it, it stitches up quite fast. So let me kind of, okay, here's the top. So here's where I'm at now. So this is stitched on a piece of 16 count black Aida, and the outline is in silver Kreinik, and the colors, the fill-in is Bradley's Balloons from Threadworks. And so I'm actually loving how the colors are laying on this. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. So in the month of September though, I just worked on getting literally the boxes done. Because I think the reason I fell out of favor of working on these is because I didn't have these done. So I said, well, let me just work on getting, so I'm now halfway done with the boxes, and I did get 2 more of these filled in. So at least I'm making progress. So this is one that, again, probably won't be done by the end of the year. And I will probably not do the 2026 stitch along just because I didn't finish this one. But if you do them, they're not, I said, it's really not all that hard. It's just a matter of getting it into the calendar and doing it. It all lives in this lovely plastic project bag. Nothing to write home about on that one. All right, what else have I worked on? All right, so I've got 3 more here to show you, I believe. So the next one lives in this summer project bag from, this is another Gilmore Girls piece from the Black Needle Society. You notice the theme here. And in this lives one of my older whips. It is now in the Whip of Shame category. But this is Summer in the Village from Stony Creek. This I was looking at it the other day when I'm looking in here. And here at the bottom, you can see where I put my start. So this is hitting its 6-year whip anniversary, and it's not even that big of a project. So I just need to sit down and just get it done. And I'm probably 75% of the way in, because I have the other 3 that I want to start. But I'm one of those people that if I'm working on something in a series, I try not to do more than one thing in the series until I'm done with the first one. So I'd like to get going on the other ones. So this got called for Great British Baking Show. And so I was able to put in a few hundred stitches on it. And so here's where I'm at. So let me show you the whole thing first. So I have the back stitching done here. I have not done the back stitching in the buildings yet. Note to self, don't do that to yourself again. Just do the back stitching as you go. So in the month of September though, I was able to get this building mostly done. It's not perfect yet, but I got this little building done, and then there's one more building here to be done. So I have, if I look at it this way, I have that one. So I'm up to here, and so I just got that one more building to go, and then that bench, and then I've got the quote. So I think this one, if I just really sit down and buckle down on it, this will be a finish. Probably not before the end of the year, but it better be a finish next year, because for a project this small, because this is a 14 count Aida, I bought the fabric, so all of them will be on the same beige 14 count Aida using the called for DMC. Again, I started stitching this 6 years ago before I understood the concept of how wonderful loop ghana and even weave are. So that means quarter stitches and split in the Aida, but that's okay. I think it still looks great. But some changes I'm going to make going forward is I'm going to work on trying to backstitch as I go. So that way I'm not leaving all of that till the end, because that's going to be a lot of backstitching. So this is probably going to stick around in October just because I still owe it quite a few stitches for the Great British Baking Show. So, and I'll just work on getting that done. And then the last 2 pieces I worked on are my 324 and 324, the sequel from Works by ABC. I started 324 back in May of 2024, and then I started the sequel at in January, because my friends Liz and Chloe and Mel and Amy were doing a motif a day with the idea of the 324th day is sometime in November. For the exact date, but they figured they'd have it done by the end of the year. So I stayed caught up for a while. And then, as always, life happens. So I am far behind on where I need to be, but it's better than not doing it at all, I suppose. So let's start with 324, the original. So here's where I'm at. So I am now over 50% of the way. In the month of September, I started this row right here, because I'm doing, as you can see, I'm doing it in diagonals. And so this is as far over, so this is as wide as the piece will be. And this is on a 16 count white Aida. Nothing fancy, nothing to write home about. And yeah, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so I got something like 175 stitches in just doing those squares. So in the month of October, my goal is to finish that long diagonal of those squares and move on to something and start back over and keep going, because that's just, as you can tell, that's just been the way I've stitched this, and it's worked out for me. I'm really loving the colors, but this is one of those pieces that has been sorely neglected, because if I only have a certain amount of time to sit and stitch, I'm putting my stitches into my Hathaway SAL and not some of these. So this will get, not gonna probably be finished by the time it should be, but I don't want it to linger too long. So then I also started 324, the sequel. And I actually like this one better because it is all the black, it's the same color scheme, and it's the black work. So let me show you, this is where I'm at. So in the month of September, I finished this page and I'm starting this row because I'm doing it a little bit different. I'm doing it a page at a time and then just going down the rows. But here's the thing, okay? When you get a new pattern, please read the directions. Don't be like me. I'm thinking, oh, they're the exact, well, it's the same concept. So when I cut the fabric for this piece, I just literally I just cut it to the same size as this. So the fabric sizes are exactly the same. Let me show you, as you can see. As you can see, they're the same size. But here's the problem with that. This pattern, if I were to stitch all of the squares, goes over to here. So if I had read the directions before I started stitching, I would have known that. And so I would have picked a smaller count. So I would have done maybe 18 or 20 count rather than 16 count. So in order to make this fit on this piece of fabric, I'm going to have to eliminate the last 2 columns on the left and the last 2 rows on the bottom when I get down there. So instead of this being 324 the sequel, this is going to be something like, I don't know, 289 the sequel. I don't know. So it's not going to quite be the same, but alas, what can you do? But it still is stitching up nicely. Just, again, need to sit down and just pull the threads and just get going on it. Because Arlene has released a new version called 365, and she's working on 365 the sequel. So the thing is if I want to start those, I need to finish these up. So we shall see. So those will get some more work in October, hopefully. So a lot of these pieces you will see again next month because I'm not putting them away just yet. So speaking of October, okay, so those were all my whips. Looking around, make sure I didn't forget anything because I always forget something. So looking at it, I think I'm done. So October, once again, half my whip pile is not getting put away. I also am going to be working on my Hathaway SAL. But it is Stitch Hauntober. So this is going to be the first year I'm doing this. And so this is from the Black Needle Society. So they've picked 13 prompts. So I'm going to put a picture here of what the prompts are. So if you want to do it too, just do it and use the hashtag Stitch Hauntober. So I went through and I said, before I even knew about the prompts, I had just started to pull fall or Halloween type projects to say, this is kind of use it like I do at Christmas time and just use it as an excuse to get going. So I found about 13 or so projects that fit the bill. And then I started trying to match them up to the prompts. And I think I've got something for all the prompts except one. But since I've got a couple that fit like 2 that fit the same prompt, I'm not worried about it. So I just want to show you the projects that I'm going to be working on. So most of them are new starts. So I'm just going to kind of show you the cover photo and let you know. So the plan is for these projects, instead of trying to do 13 days, I'm just going to pick a project and go with it till I hit 310 stitches. So whether that's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, however many days it takes me to get 310 stitches on that project, that's what I'm going to do. And then I will put the project aside and pick up another project. So with the goal of starting or continuing work on these projects. So I've already shown you Leap into Fall and the Falling Leaves and Coffee Please. So those are going to be 2 of my projects. So I'm looking to get another 310 into each of those. And then in no particular order, because I'm just going to go with whatever I feel like that day, I am going to start Lucy Beam's Happy Halloween to You. I am not using this fabric though. I just didn't care for the way this looked on the fabric. So I'm kind of doing more of a brown, I think. I am using the called for DMC colors. And this is bigger than I expected it to be. Most of it's that pumpkin right there. So this is one that's going to get started, and this will make a great Halloween decoration whenever it gets finished. Hopefully it doesn't take too long comparatively because it's much smaller than what I usually stitch. But it'll be an easy kind of fill in. Once I'll probably do the black first. You know, go here, get the outline, get the black wording in, and then just fill in. I mean, that won't take too long. So that'll be the first piece I plan on starting. The next piece I plan on starting is Heartstring Samplery's Scary Sampler. I have been eyeballing this one for a while. I have this and I have its sister piece, the Scenic Sampler. So I'm going to do them both on the same fabric. So I've got this big piece of fabric that it's more gray than the model here. But with this one, I am going to be doing it all in the called for overdyed floss. So I have a mix of Classic Colorworks, Weeks Dye Works, and Gentle Arts. And so this is going to be on a 20 count. I think it's London Fog. I don't have the fabric down here with me anymore. So this is going to be huge. I've been watching my friend Chloe stitch on this one, and I think my friend Mel, a girl of pages and threads. I know Chloe's been stitching on it. So that's kind of what inspired me to just finally say, screw it, just get it out and start it. So yeah. So that'll be a start sometime in October, but this is not going to be a finish because it's huge. And then my next start will be the Glory of Autumn. So this is a dimensions kit that I picked up from the freebie table at either StitchCon or Steel City. And so I'm going to use all the called for, I'm going to use everything that came with it. The only thing is I may try to find myself a piece of Even Weaver Lugana instead of the Ada, simply because dimensions kits are notorious for quarter stitches. And again, if I don't have to pierce the Ada, I won't. But this is going to be a start that I'm looking forward to because it's been a long time since I've worked on a dimensions kit. And then I plan on starting Ink Circles Assembly Required. This was a piece that I had won as part of my Frogworks haul back in 2024. And this is going to be small and sweet. So this, I don't think it'll be done in the month of October now, but I don't anticipate this one hanging around till next October. So I'm going to be stitching this on a piece of dark blue fabric, but with a more of a white thread rather than the variegated thread that they used. They used a DMC variegation, I think. But it's a cute skeleton Halloween piece. And then I also plan on starting Morticia's second line from Dirty Annie. Now this is a piece that I love it, but I have a love-hate relationship with it already. So when I got it, obviously I got the paper version, and so I'm like, oh, I want to load this into Pattern Keeper, because originally my thought process, because when I bought this at Accents in Louisiana, which is where the model actually is, the lady and I were talking, said, well, what if we took this and then just made it like in a row, like an actual second line would be in Louisiana? So I was thinking, yeah, maybe I'll just kind of figure that out. So I said, well, I don't want to rechart this whole thing. So let me see if there's a PDF out there. So I went out and I found a PDF of this. I bought the PDF, loaded the PDF into Pattern Keeper, only to find that the PDF doesn't work for Pattern Keeper. It sort of kind of works in Markup RXP, but not Pattern Keeper. Don't ask me why. It just is what it is. So I have been working on charting this into Max Stitch for Pattern Keeper. So originally I was going to play with it and do the whole long line, but then when I started just looking at the size of fabric I would need a very, very, very long piece that's only maybe about this tall. And I was like, yeah, trying to get that kind of a custom cut, not cheap. So I'm probably just gonna end up I've got the fabric to stitch it just like this. So we'll see. So I'm gonna, this is gonna be stitched using all the called for flosses of Weeks Dye Works. Just because every time I tried to pull a conversion, I just wasn't as pleased with the conversion as I thought I was. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do Weeks Dye Works for this. So it's gonna be not on the same shade of purple. It's gonna be a slightly different shade of purple. But again, it's been a start that I've been looking forward to for years, so I can't wait. And then my last two new starts are gonna come out of this book from Lindy Stitches. I got this, a spooky book, a couple years ago. And so I am gonna be doing Goth Chicken. The only difference is that I'm taking out the alphabet because again, you know how, those of you who know me, you know how I feel about alphabet. So I recharted this into Pattern Keeper so the it just goes up to here. And so it's gonna make a cute small pillow. So this actually may be a start and finish in October. And then the other one I'm going to do is this one's Broomstick Brigade. I don't have, right now I've got the same big piece of fabric for both of these. However, I may see if I can find something more like, green or orange to go with that maybe. So I might change the color of the fabric, but I thought the cats on the broom were so cute. And if I really just keep enjoying it, I might start Gray Fellows. So there's 2, maybe 3 new starts out of this book. It's got 6 different patterns in it. So it's got a needle book. It's got the pumpkins, or not the pie with the ravens in it. And then it's got the candy corn, which I think is awful. So I probably won't do this one. But definitely going to do Goth Chicken because it'll go along well with my beach rat. So then the other 2 pieces, or the last few pieces I'm going to work on this Celebrate All Year piece. And actually, so this was the Camp Black Needle pattern from 2 years ago in 2024. And this is what the pattern looks like. For camp, they tend to put the pattern on the project bag, so it's perfect. So because it's got these fall motifs down here, I said, well, this gives me an excuse to work on it because I honestly have not worked on this since I started it at camp. So I just needed a good excuse to get some stitches in on it. So here it is. So I'm hoping to get 310 stitches. It'll be up here because I know I've got this mermaid done and this. So it'll be 310 stitches up here, but it's still 310 stitches on a project that I haven't touched in over a year. So I'm looking forward to getting some work done on this. And then I am going to be working on my Frogworts piece. So I've got all of my Frogworts pieces in here in this beautiful project bag from Stitchy Missy that I bought in Missouri. So I'm a Slytherin. So I am going to be working on Frogworts year 6 because I didn't get that finished this year. So the reason this is going to get pushed out is because it calls for one of the prompts calls for a witch. Well, Luna Lovegood is here and Luna Lovegood is a witch. So I'm hoping to get some more stitches in on that. And then I'm going to be working on, let's see. So I'm working on my all-in-one piece. So I'm going to work more on Frogworts year 1 because it calls for working on a piece with an owl in it. And then I'm going to work more on Frogworts year 2 below it because it also calls for a piece with a cauldron in it. So there's my cauldron. So I'm going to get some stitches in on both of those as well. So those are my goals. I mean, that's really, we'll see. That's a lot of stitching for October. And October is very, very quickly filling up because when I'm not stitching, I've been doing a lot more political activism than I ever expected. So this is the busy season because we have a gubernatorial election coming up in the state of Virginia. And so it seems that between fundraisers and postcarding and door knocking, there is something going on almost every day. So I'm hoping that I can at least get, touch all those pieces, and I definitely will be getting my Hathaway SAL work done. So I think that's about it for me. So if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking around. Last month, my little discussion piece was the difference between who prefers apple cider versus pumpkin spice. And the overwhelming favorite was apple cider, apple cinnamon. That's what I like. Pumpkin spice is good in a pumpkin pie or pumpkin bread, but I don't like it in my drinks. I've tried it. Sorry, Cece. I'm an apple girl when it comes to something to drink. So for this month's little debate in the comments, first of all, drop a Halloween emoji. Drop your favorite Halloween emoji. And then tell me your opinion on candy corn. That is one of those, you either love it or you hate it. There is no in between. You either love candy corn or you can't stand it. So let me know how you feel, and I'll let you know how I feel next month. So anyhow, I think that's about it. Hopefully this time I don't delete this before I get it uploaded, and we'll go from there. So anyhow, between now and the next time, if you want to see my progress, find me over on Instagram at walking_in_stitches, or that's about it. So in the meantime, don't ever let anybody else tell you what you should do. You just always need to go ahead and just stitch your own stitch. Have a great day.